There are moments when the day finally grows quiet, and you sit alone with your thoughts, and you realize that the tiredness you feel is not only in your body, but somewhere deeper, in the place where you carry responsibility, prayer, memory, and hope. You may not have words for it at first, because you are used to being the one who keeps going, the one who figures things out, the one who stays steady when others wobble. You wake up, do what must be done, and offer strength as if it were endless. But strength that is constantly given away still costs something, even when it is given in love. Many strong women of faith do not speak openly about this tiredness, because they fear sounding ungrateful or weak, or like they are doubting God. But weariness is not a failure of faith. It is often the evidence of faith that has been exercised for a long time. Scripture never pretends that faithful people are untouched by fatigue. Us about women who served, waited, endured, and trusted, and still found themselves weeping quietly when no one was watching. There is a kind of emotional tiredness that comes from carrying wisdom too early, from learning patience through necessity rather than choice, from being dependable in seasons when you also needed someone dependable for you. You did not become strong by accident. You became strong because life asked much of you, and faith taught you how to stand when sitting down felt safer. Sometimes, the exhaustion comes from always being the calm one, the understanding one, the one who sees both sides and therefore swallows her own pain first. The Bible speaks of bearing one another's burdens, but many women have quietly carried entire households of emotion on their own shoulders, never wanting to trouble anyone else, never wanting to appear dramatic or needy. Jesus once spoke about those who are weary and heavy laden, rebuke, but as an invitation to rest, and rest was never presented as something you earn. It was offered as something you are allowed to receive. Emotional tiredness often grows when rest feels undeserved, when you believe you must always prove your faith by endurance, rather than by trust. There is a difference between being faithful and being constantly available, and many women were taught those two things were the same. You learn to pray through pain, to worship through disappointment, to smile while your heart quietly processed unanswered questions. That kind of faith builds depth, but depth can feel heavy when it is rarely shared. Some of you grew up being the responsible one, even as a child, learning to manage emotions that were not yours to manage. By the time you reached adulthood, strength felt like your identity, and laying it down felt unfamiliar and risky. Yet God has never required you to perform resilience. For Him, He sees what is unseen, including the silent fatigue that comes from always being composed. In the Psalms, there are prayers that sound like whispered confessions, not polished speeches, not confident declarations, but honest acknowledgments of weariness. Those prayers were not edited out of Scripture. They were preserved, as if God wanted you to know that tired faith still belongs in His presence. Sometimes emotional exhaustion comes from being perceptive, from sensing shifts in people's moods, from anticipating needs before they are spoken. You notice what others miss, and you adjust yourself accordingly, again and again. That kind of awareness is a gift, but it also drains energy, especially when there is little space to be equally seen. Strong women often minimize their own pain because they know others have it worse. But comparison does not heal, and it does not replenish the soul. Widow who gave quietly, not because her gift was large, but because it cost her something real. Your emotional labor matters, even when it is invisible, even when no one applauds it. Faith does not mean pretending you are fine. It means believing you can tell the truth in God's presence. There are seasons when God allows tiredness to surface, not to shame you, but to invite you into a different rhythm. Even Elijah, after great spiritual victory, collapsed into exhaustion, and God did not lecture him. He fed him and let him sleep. Sometimes the most spiritual response to emotional fatigue is nourishment and rest, not another lesson on endurance. You may feel tired because you have been faithful in small, unnoticed ways, listening, supporting, praying, forgiving, again and again. Forgiveness alone can drain the strongest heart, especially when it is given without apology from the other side. Reminds us that God is close to the brokenhearted, not impressed by the unbreakable. There is a quiet grief that comes from being strong, because strength often means others assume you are always okay. They may come to you for wisdom, for comfort, for clarity, but rarely ask how your own heart is holding up. This is not bitterness, it is awareness, and awareness can be heavy when carried alone. Strong women of faith often wrestle with the tension between trusting God and wishing things were easier. That tension is not disobedience. It is the space where real prayer is formed. When Jesus wept at Lazarus' tomb, he already knew resurrection was coming, yet he still allowed himself to feel the weight of loss. Feeling deeply does not cancel faith. It proves you are human. Some of you are tired because you have been patient longer than you expected. Patient with people, patient with process, patient with unanswered prayers. Patience is often praised, but rarely acknowledged for how exhausting it can be. Waiting requires hope, and hope, when stretched, needs renewal. The prophet Isaiah wrote that those who wait on the Lord renew their strength. But waiting itself can feel like strength being spent before it is restored. Renewal does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes it comes quietly, through permission to slow down, for releasing unrealistic expectations of yourself. You are not weak for needing rest. You are wise for noticing the need. There is a difference between carrying a cross and carrying burdens God never asked you to carry. Some emotional fatigue comes from responsibility that was assumed, not assigned. Jesus said his yoke is easy and his burden light, which suggests that when the burden feels crushing, it may not all be his. Strong women often say yes too quickly because they know they can handle it. Capacity is not the same as calling. Just because you can endure something does not mean you must. God does not measure your faith by how depleted you are. He measures it by your willingness to trust him with your limits. You may feel emotionally tired because you have grown, and growth requires letting go of old versions of yourself. Outgrowing roles, outgrowing expectations, outgrowing survival patterns can be surprisingly exhausting. Change, even healthy change, requires energy. Some of you are grieving things you never had: support, understanding, ease, and grief takes strength to carry. The Bible speaks of a peace that passes understanding. A peace does not mean the absence of tiredness, it means you are not alone in it. God is not disappointed by your fatigue. He is present within it. There is a tenderness in realizing you cannot do everything, and that tenderness can become a doorway to deeper. Strong women often forget that Jesus allowed others to help him. He accepted water. He accepted rest. He accepted companionship. Receiving help is not a spiritual failure. It is a reflection of trust. Some of you are tired because you have been holding faith together, for your family, for your children, for people who are still learning how to believe. Intercession can be heavy, especially when answers take time. Yet Scripture reminds us that God hears even the prayers we cannot fully articulate. You are allowed to come to God without polished words, without certainty, without strength. A bruised reed he does not break, a dimly burning wick he does not extinguish. That means even tired faith is protected faith. There is dignity in acknowledging your limits and humility in honoring them. You may not need to do more. You may need to do less, with greater intention. Rest is not quitting. It is recalibrating. Some of you are tired because you have been strong for so long that you forgot how to be gentle with yourself. Gentleness is not weakness. It is often the fruit of maturity. Jesus described himself as gentle and humble in heart, and strength flowed from that posture. If this message finds you in a quiet moment, let it be a reminder that your tiredness has context. It did not appear out of nowhere. It grew from faithfulness, from responsibility, from love. And love, while life-giving, also requires replenishment. If you feel led to continue reflecting on messages like this, you are welcome to subscribe to the Dear Woman of Faith channel, not out of obligation, but as a shared space for thoughtful encouragement. There is no pressure here, only companionship on the journey. You are not falling behind, you are becoming more honest with yourself. God's timing is not rushed. For you. Even now, He is at work in ways you cannot measure, including in your rest. If you feel comfortable, you may leave a word of encouragement for another woman who may read it later. Sometimes the smallest kindness becomes someone else's quiet strength. As this reflection comes to a close, take a slow breath, not to fix anything, but to notice where you are. Gratitude does not erase tiredness, but it can sit beside it. Thank God for the strength you have shown, and trust Him with the strength you no longer have. You are seen, you are held, and you are not required to carry everything alone. Let tonight be enough, and let tomorrow unfold in its own time. Sometimes, the most difficult part of being emotionally tired is not the tiredness itself, but the quiet guilt that follows it. You wonder why you feel this way when God has been good, when others depend on you, when you know how to encourage everyone else. But faith was never meant to cancel your humanity. It was meant to carry it. There are women listening right now who have learned how to function while tired, how to show up while empty, how to keep their voice steady while their heart feels thin. That skill did not come without cost. You learned how to compartmentalize, how to place your feelings neatly to the side so the work of the day could continue. And while that skill helped you survive, it was never meant to become your permanent way of living. God does not only meet us in our strength, He meets us in our honesty. When you read Scripture closely, you notice how often God asks questions. He lacks information, but because He invites reflection. Where are you? What do you need? Why are you afraid? These are not interrogations, they are openings. Strong women often answer those questions for everyone else, but rarely sit with them for themselves. Emotional tiredness can be a sign that your inner life is asking for attention, not correction, not discipline, but care. Some of you have been pouring wisdom into others while neglecting your own soul's quiet requests. You know how to encourage patience, but you have not allowed yourself to slow down. You know how to speak hope, but you have not always received it. There is a subtle loneliness that comes with being spiritually mature, because fewer people speak to you at the depth you carry. People assume you are already anchored, already stable, already full. But even anchored ships need maintenance. Even deep wells need attention. Replenishment. God never asked you to be a source without being a recipient. There are seasons when He intentionally leads His servants into stillness, not as punishment, but as protection. Jesus often withdrew, even when crowds were still waiting. He did not confuse availability with obedience. Some of you feel emotionally tired because you have been available beyond your capacity. Saying no has felt uncomfortable because you fear disappointing people or being misunderstood. But boundaries are not barriers to love, they are frameworks that protect it. A faith that honors limits is a faith that trusts God to fill the gaps you leave. You do not have to be everywhere to be faithful. You do not have to fix everything to be useful. There is a sacred humility in stepping back and allowing God to be God. Emotional tiredness often softens us. It removes the illusion of self-sufficiency. That can feel unsettling. it can also be deeply freeing. You were never meant to be strong alone. Even Moses needed others to hold his arms, and Scripture does not present that moment as failure, but as wisdom. Strength shared lasts longer. Some of you are tired because you have been the emotional safe place for many, but have not had one yourself. You listen without interrupting. You hold stories carefully. You keep confidences. You offer grace. That kind of presence costs energy. God sees every unseen moment of care. Nothing you have carried quietly has gone unnoticed. But God also cares about the condition of your heart, not just the service it provides. There is permission here to rest without explanation, to pause without apology, to tend to your inner life with the same compassion you extend outward. Faith matures when it becomes less performative and more honest. Impress God. You only have to come to Him. Some days coming to Him looks like prayer. Other days it looks like silence, or sleep, or saying no. All of these can be acts of trust. Strong women sometimes mistake endurance for calling, but endurance is only one chapter. There are chapters of receiving, chapters of being poured into, chapters where your only assignment is to be present. You are allowed to be in those chapters without guilt. If your emotions feel heavy lately, it may be because you are carrying wisdom that is still settling. Wisdom takes time to integrate, and integration requires rest. You cannot rush becoming whole. God is patient with your process even when you are not. There is a gentler way forward, one that does not require constant proving. You do not have to earn rest. You are invited into it. As this message continues to linger, let it meet you where you are, not where you think you should be. There is grace for your tiredness, and there is grace for your strength. Both belong in the life of faith. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are not alone. And even now, God is holding you with more care than you have been holding yourself. Let that be enough for this moment.